This is Hemant.
And Jessica.
And you're listening to the Friendly Atheist Podcast. If you like what you're listening to, please go to patreon.com/Friendly Atheist Podcast. Before we begin anything, I wanted to talk about a project that I just launched. I'm super excited about it. It's been like more than a year in the making. Jessica has heard way too much about this.
I was not asked to participate, which we'll talk about later.
No one else was participating. No. It's me and one of the writers for the website, Camille Beredjick. She had been writing for like 3-4 years for my site about LGBT issues. Mm-hmm. And then last year we decided, why don't you stop writing for a little while? Because it's all short term, it's current event stuff. And why don't you focus on this long-term thing? And here's the crux of it. Every time we post something about LGBT rights, that's not directly connected to religion necessarily, but here's a gay couple that's been discriminated against. And hey, it's a Christian baker or whatever. But even if when religion's not necessarily involved, you have people chiming in the comments saying, what does this have to do with atheism? As if I'm not allowed to post anything if it's not directly related.
There's laws about blogs.
I know. And so the response I always want to give is like, if you're talking about LGBTQ rights, the only reason we don't have equal rights is because, almost always, it's because of religious beliefs. Religious people trying to block them, evangelicals trying to block them. I've occasionally heard of atheists making the argument that gay people shouldn't be allowed to get married because the government should not be involved in marriage, period.
That's the dumbest argument ever.
We can talk about that.
Okay, we'll talk about it. I'm going to write that down.
But
dumbest.
In the process, it's like, how come there are atheists who would say things like, my atheism begins and ends with a belief in God. I don't believe in God. I'm done. That is all you know when I tell you I'm an atheist. To me, it seems like a very logical extension of that you should say, I am not just for LGBT rights, but I am a hardcore advocate for them. Because the same forces that are putting down atheists that say, we can't get elected, that use us as a scapegoat when, hurricanes happen.
They're the same people who don't want gay people to get married.
Yes. And so, I mean, we're kind of battling the same enemies here in terms of ideology. So the question was, how do you convince atheists that, no, this is not just someone else's issue. This is not just something, yes, maybe you care about it, but no,
it's not tangential.
You should be so gung-ho when it comes to LGBT rights. How do you make that case? And I can try to make it from things I've read and making those arguments, but like, I'm not gay, so it's hard for me to make that case firsthand.
Right.
Like, I haven't lived it. I don't know what it's like. And I don't know all the nuance necessarily that someone who's been through that experience and can speak to both worlds can. And that's what Camille had. So the project was, Camille, try to tackle every issue involving atheism and LGBT rights, wherever they intersect. Are those movements parallel? Because a lot of people compare the atheist movement to the gay movement, gay rights movement. Are they the same? And there are places where they're totally not. What's the difference? Tell us what the difference is. Why should atheists care about these issues? Is there any rational argument you could even try to make that says, these are very different and we shouldn't care about it? Why? Here's an interesting one. It's easy for us to argue why religion is bad for LGBT rights. Is it ever good? I mean, we know there are religious people who also fight for LGBT rights, but like, what's going on religiously speaking that makes some religious beliefs bad for those issues, and some, like the religious left, which we've talked about before, they're awesome on these issues. So like, when does it help? And if you're LGBTQ, why would you be religious? And so she talked to people from all these walks of life. The book is finally written, and we're now in the process of getting it actually published. So to make that happen, which involves, not just publishing the book and getting it ready for publication and hiring someone to edit it and format it and getting the cover and the back cover and all the shipping and everything that goes with it, and trying to pay Camille for everything we've done and reimburse that as much as possible, we started a Kickstarter for the book. It's called the book's title, which Camille came up with, and she felt that it was a good combination of both worlds. And I like it. It made me, I was like, is this an okay title? She said, no, it is good. It's called Queer Disbelief. And she said the reason is disbelief, obviously, ties in with the atheist world.
Sure.
And queer, she said, it is self-description that a lot of LGBT people use, but also it kind of means unusual. And this is an unusual spot to be in. So that's why that's the title. So Queer Disbelief is the book. If you are listening, if you like what we're talking about, if that book sounds like something you'd be interested in, please go to Kickstarter and chip in whatever you can. That will be going for like another 4 weeks or something, and then we have to hit whatever the fundraising goal is. And I will be chatting with Camille for an interview about that book so we can talk more about that nuance soon. We'll release that as like a bonus episode.
Oh, I thought I was going to get a week off.
Yeah, you can get a week off if you want. But anyway, I'm telling you, I read a lot of atheist books. I get them in the mail all the time. People saying, can you write about this on the blog?
And you write them too.
I look at them and some of them are good.
Uh-huh.
Most of them don't do anything for me because I am an atheist. I don't need to be convinced of that. And, they're fine. But I'm telling you, reading through Camille's book and reading through the different drafts she has written of this book and seeing the final product, it is compelling. It is interesting. Like, I learned a ton reading it. And it's just really well written. This is not a compilation of blog posts she's posted before. Cool. This is all new material. It's really good. I'm really proud of it. And now we just need to get this through the finish line. So
is there a tentative release date?
We're going to try to get it out before December.
Cool.
But everything's in the works.
I've got a couple people on my list I need to check off for Christmas gifts.
They will love it or hate it, which we're fine with.
Perfect.
So yeah, we're going to get this out soon.
Strong emotions.
But seriously, it's a good book. Please, if you know anyone who's interested, support it.
I'm super stoked to read it.
Queer Disbelief on Kickstarter. Go search for it, and more on that soon. So, okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the stuff going on right now.
Hemant, this is like old school atheist nights.
Yes, I know. We haven't done a night broadcast taping like this in a long time. It's Friday night.
I'm back working 9 to 5. It is 10 o'clock p.m.
The babies are asleep.
The babies are asleep. The wife is asleep.
At least for the next 5 minutes, the babies are asleep. So we'll finish this podcast very quickly.
It's an 8-minute podcast tonight. Okay.
I want to start with this story just because I kind of want to pat Mormons on the head and say you're adorable. And I don't mean that in a condescending way. It's just I saw Mormons getting so excited over this. And so the story is at Brigham Young University in Utah, they finally announced the other day that they would have in their dining hall like a soda dispenser.
Bless their heart.
Like Coca-Cola will now be sold in the dining hall. And maybe you're wondering, why is that a big deal?
Well,
as the story goes, I mean, there are Mormons and non-Mormons who would say, oh, they have a ban on caffeine, and that's the reason why. That is actually not the case.
No, I was just going to look up, I think John... who does Mormon stories?
Oh, John DeLynn.
DeLynn.
Yeah.
He pulled up a really funny thing about, like, is it caffeine, or is it hot drinks, or is it hot caffeinated drinks, or is it fermented drinks? I'm going to find that.
The story as it goes is Mormons are not supposed to drink coffee or tea, and the reason, and you're trying to wonder, what's the rule about this? And a lot of people think, oh, well, we're not supposed to drink coffee, tea. Caffeine is the common denominator, maybe, so we also can't drink Coke.
Right.
And then that was kind of revised later on by the church to say, no, they meant hot drinks. And then you're like, oh, so 5 years ago, like in 2012, the Mormon church actually released a statement saying, no, caffeinated, like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, those are fine.
They're fine.
You can have those. But BYU still didn't put it in the dining hall, and they said it's because there was no demand for it.
I'm sorry, I've been in college. There's always a demand for caffeine.
The students at BYU were like, no, we totally want it. They would go to gas stations nearby the school to pick it up and bring it back to campus.
Those fucking rebels.
Like, this is exactly. That's how
they're
rebelling.
They iron their button-down shirts before they go get their 2 liters of Cokes? So
it sounds like something I would do in college.
And
so now BYU is saying, well, like and it's so adorable how they announced it too. They on Twitter they said they just posted a can of Coke saying it's happening, and everyone went.
So the thing that John posted was, so here's what I've been told during my decade in Utah. This is a meme he posted.
And he's a former Mormon.
He's a former Mormon, a foreman. Caffeinated sodas are okay, but coffee and tea are forbidden because Mormon texts discourage hot drinks. It's not about caffeine. Point 2, hot chocolate is okay despite being hot because hot drinks is really meant to be brewed drinks. Point 3, iced tea and iced coffee are forbidden despite being cold because they are brewed. But, point 4, herbal teas, hot or iced, are okay despite being brewed because there's no caffeine. It feels arbitrary.
So arbitrary, yeah. What's funny is if you search on Twitter for something like BYU and caffeine, and just to see reactions.
Oh man,
from
they've
people,
been lighting it up.
The jokes are things like, "Oh sure, you wait until the world's going to end on the 23rd to do this."
Oh yeah, is the world ending tomorrow?
Oh, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
The world is ending tomorrow, so I'm told.
Again.
The reaction
Should we get
was
this podcast up pretty fast.
this is what happens when your football team starts 1-3. You got to do
Ooh.
something to keep
Take that,
people
football
excited.
boys.
And the Mormon Church actually just bought an old Book of Mormon for $35 million. Now they got to make it up. That's a whole different story.
What?
But basically, everyone has. I mean, remember the Kofifi tweet that Donald Trump made, and everyone
I
goes
fucking remember
crazy
that.
making jokes, and they're having a blast. That's what happened to BYU over.
It's the only
Coke
time
being
Twitter
sold.
is like a wonderful, wholesome place to be. Is when we can all decide on one person to make fun of.
Now, if you take away the, "Oh, I feel happy, I'm glad something nice happened for the people at BYU," and you step back and you're like, wait, for religious reasons, they banned caffeinated drink, or they thought they banned caffeinated drinks.
They certainly may or may not have banned caffeinated drinks.
This is the weirdest story. This should be weird. We should and every story I've seen in the news about this Coke machine that's now in the dining hall is like, hey, look, they
Wait,
made this change.
I'm sorry. I want to make this clear. Is it like a Coke machine, or
It's
is it
one.
like they now distribute it at their like?
They
student-
have, as far as I can tell, there's like one machine in the dining hall that everyone uses.
That's literally the most
and they're
precious
selling
thing
it.
I've ever heard.
They're selling it at like the wherever they have their football games at concessions.
Football stadiums?
Yeah, I don't know what their stadium is, if it's called something else, but yeah,
I bet it's a football stadium.
that might be the case. Listen, I haven't slept in days. But so they're selling it there too. What's funny, the BYU campus in I think Idaho, maybe that's
Yeah.
the super conservative one, even for BYU. They're not selling it there.
Well-
This is strictly at the Provo campus in Utah. So it's still controversial, but you take a step back. Every news story is talking about how this is a big change and
Right.
students are very excited. But like, step back for a second and realize, wait, it's kind of absurd that this was an issue
Yeah.
within the church. Like, this was a make or break sort of thing for a lot of
Man, yeah, Mormons are
like, why are we having this discussion? This isn't even birth control in the Catholic Church, like
Yeah.
something serious. This is Coke in Mormonism.
Yeah, Mormons I find to be one of the trickiest sort of religious groups to zero in on, because really and truly, as individuals, Mormons tend to be the like kindest and tidiest humans that have ever humaned. But like as a group, they've had some pretty shitty things that they've done and said.
Yeah.
Um,
These are the people that didn't let black people become clergy until, like, what, 1978?
Yeah.
Until, oh, hey, we were wrong about that
oh
one.
God, I misread this. Look at it said brown, not black, so you still can't be in heaven.
I know.
Sorry.
So, congratulations, BYU, I guess.
You know, we should remind me to ask Ross and Carrie from
Yes.
Mona Ross and Carrie, because they joined the Mormon Church.
They did temporarily.
And Carrie
for
has
a
an
episode.
affinity for hot drinks, so I'm gonna do some recon
That may
on
not
that
have
and
gone
see what
over well.
happened. No, I'm gonna look it up. I'm writing a note.
Very good. So congrats, BYU. I guess. I'm happy for you, maybe, but it's still kind of weird that
It's
this
just
was
so
an issue.
weird. Like, what a fucking whatever. It's fine. You know what?
Don't rain on their parade.
Yeah, I don't
This
want to
is
wake up
all
your
they
kids
have.
yet.
I want to go to a story about a more serious story. There is a writer, longtime journalist. Her name is Sally Quinn. If you've seen the website On Faith, where they publish a lot of different religious essays from different backgrounds, she founded that. She has like a history in the world of journalism. Everyone knows her. So she started the On Faith website because she liked this religious discussion thing. So
Where did she stand on the religious?
Well, she is quote unquote spiritual,
Okay.
whatever that means. And she just published a book. It's called Finding Magic, a spiritual memoir, which I thought that's a perfect title because that's all it is.
That's cute.
Which I don't think is what she means by it, but okay.
That's cute.
But okay, here's where I have issues with her. years ago, in 2012, Mitt Romney versus Barack Obama, she wrote an essay where she basically argued, she said this, and I'm quoting this, "This is a religious country. Part of claiming your citizenship is claiming a belief in God, even if you're not Christian."
Foof. Man, you lost me somewhere. Could you repeat that? I'm not sure where you lost me.
This is a religious country. Part of claiming your citizenship is
I'm
claiming a belief in God, even if you're not Christian.
See, that's where you lost me. You lost me at the end part.
So,
and the beginning, actually.
As you can guess, atheists complained about this because what the heck are you talking about? So she wrote a follow-up where what she meant to say.
No, what I meant was Jesus Christ.
No, she said, what I meant to say is that it's, de facto religious. You don't have to be, but like societally speaking, most people are religious and it's really hard. Like
she was
just
digging. Saying America is like opt out vis-a-vis religion.
that it's culturally Christian. The point is,
check the box to get yourself off the mailing list.
It just really didn't help. Okay, so here's the thing. Now let's say that was a big mistake she made, and then she tried to apologize for it. Okay, let's give her the benefit.
She made, and that her editor made, and then the publisher made, and then she made again.
I don't know how many rounds of editing it went through with those posts.
At least an editor, one would hope.
One would hope, but I've written things that get posted that I don't know who's reading it. But
it's me. I'm reading it.
Yeah.
I'm your editor.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
She went on MSNBC Morning Joe this week to promote her book. Okay. And so they're talking about religion.
The Magic Book?
The Magic Book.
Okay.
And she was telling the story about her own kind of religious journey here.
Oof.
And I'm going to quote what she says here. And she's talking about her friend and On Faith co-founder, John Meacham, who has his own journalism. He's written a lot of best-selling books
Jessica
and stuff
to her
like that.
Hemant?
Yes. So she's referring to John Meacham here. And here's what she says. "We were having lunch one day, and we were talking about faith because John is a religion scholar and a practicing Christian. And I announced that I was an atheist." So this is a while ago.
Oh, like pre. Okay.
I announced that I was an atheist, and I had been an atheist since I was 4 years old. And John said, "You're not an atheist."
Oh.
And I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "No, you're not." And he said, "You're not a negative person. And the word atheist is a negative word. It means you're against something. That is not who you are."
Sir?
I'll pause there for a moment.
That's not how language works, my friend.
You're not a negative. I get the atheist means you're not religious. You don't believe in God. But the idea that atheists are negative... We are not negative. We're just angry at everything.
You and I personally are angry, but not us as a collective.
The broader atheist community is just 75%
I assume
angry.
I've met not negative atheists. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
And I love the idea that you could just say, you're not really an atheist.
Also, just really quick, that conversation never happened. I'm telling you that right goddamn now. That conversation did not happen.
John Meacham went on to say, in Sally's words,
I'm sorry, did you see John Meacham or quote fingers John Meacham?
Quote fingers John Meacham said. Sally Quinn says, "That was a new thought." And then he said, "Look, you don't know anything about religion. If you're going to be an atheist, at least you have to learn something about it." And so he gave me this long reading list of religion books, and he said, "Go off, read these books, and then come back and tell me you're an atheist," unquote. So it just gets worse.
So, okay. All right. Sorry, I just had to
You
take
don't
my
know
headphones off for a
anything
second.
about religion because you're an atheist.
So in order to say that I don't believe... So, okay, headphones are back on. So in order to say I don't believe in God, I have to do thorough research on every religion?
I think that's the insinuation.
Because my question would be like, oh, you say you're a Christian. You don't know anything about the other religions. Like, go read a book on Hinduism and Judaism.
They don't study the Quran in Sunday school. No.
Other people know. Like, it's, again, can't stress this enough. Not a conversation that ever happened between two humans.
It sounds like a pastor's story that they tell in church where it's
God.
Sure, this happened to you.
Or like
I'm sure you met someone on the airplane and you had this conversation.
Or like
happens all the time.
Or like when stand-up comedians are like, so I was walking to the joint tonight and a guy bumped into me and I said something fun.
Yeah, at least the fun comedians are like, so this happened the other day for the purposes of this joke.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In the joke world. So I don't know why that bugs me so much when people say like, I had this, like there's a whole, this is a sidebar, there's a whole Facebook group called That Child Did Not Say That. And it's just people being like, the other day my child looked at me and was like, I think I'm a communist. And the person said, well, what do you believe in? And then the kid says, I guess I'm a Republican after all. And it's like, nope. No.
I'm glad you got a meme out of it, but that's not what your kid said.
It's just literally like, it's like what a child does.
Yeah, hey, look, that story perfectly fits your point, doesn't it?
It's fucking garbage. And like, yes, the story is completely false, but also like, that's a dumb thing to say. So it's invaluable on every possible.
Which is my issue with it, right?
What did Joe and Mika say? Were they?
You know what? Mika wasn't in that clip that I saw. Joe didn't say anything except asking the leading questions because she's a storyteller, so we let her speak. But one of the things to point out here, in 2010, the Pew Research Center actually did a survey. How much religious knowledge do you have of various religions? Who scored number one on that list? Atheists. Of course we did. Also, that's why we're atheists, because we know about these religions.
That's a Friendly Atheist special. We bring that up once an episode.
I'm pretty sure we do. My friend Andrew Seidel said something like, the road to atheism is littered with Bibles that have been read cover to cover.
Yeah, who is it that said like the best way to make an atheist is to read the Bible?
Yeah.
Everybody,
I'm sure. By the way, Sally Quinn wasn't done yet. She went on to say in her story that she read these books and then suddenly she turned spiritual,
she read all
I
the
guess.
books. Good job.
I'm sure she did.
Congrats.
Then she said the other thing that was clear is I was an angry atheist. And that doesn't really make any sense because if you're angry at God, then you must believe in God.
Just going to pause for a second.
I'm done.
Angry atheists aren't angry at God because we don't believe that God exists.
That was the other weird, like, we're not angry at God if we're angry about stuff. We're angry at what people who believe in God do in his name. There is a difference.
Correct.
The fact that she can't articulate what most atheists believe, she's like the Kirk Cameron type atheist, which is to say, you used to be an atheist, but it was probably more like you were just apathetic and didn't care anything about religion, like most people don't.
Or you were like mad at your parents for making you go to church, or like something really petty.
And therefore you're an atheist, but you've put no thought into it. You don't actually have any reasons for it. So it's like I think we've had this conversation where it's like, is a baby an atheist? I mean, they don't believe in anything, but like they aren't thinking about being an atheist.
But here's the other thing, Hemant, like
it's different.
You've got like a 5-minute-old son. Like, how eager are you to pin like weird shit on him like that? Like,
well, he's a young little Democrat. Yeah. Already, the indoctrination has to strike young. He was
wearing a big button that said Bernie 2020 today. I thought that was weird and unsafe because babies shouldn't have sharp.
His hair does look Bernie-ish, but that's the thing. Like, just because what she's saying in all this is like she doesn't actually care much about the atheism. And I'm not trying to label her for her. That's the problem we're arguing against.
No.
But it's like, okay, you're basically slandering atheists the same way you did it years ago, and it's still wrong.
But
like, this doesn't fit the description of any other atheist I know.
She's trying to undercut atheists like from within. Like, I used to be one of you, and this is what it's really like. And it's a garbage thing to say because it makes no sense, and it's founded on lies because these conversations never happen.
It's the same kind of thing you hear from Christians who say, I used to be gay, but now I'm straight and I have a family, and therefore you can do it too. It's like, first, let's go back for a second.
Other ball of wax.
I want to take issue with what
But also, I feel like
first.
That's a thing that is said to things like that are like the height of strawmanism, right? Like here's a really like general thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to cut it down with this like quirky turn of phrase. And I feel like a thing that a lot of religious people get away with. And we've talked about this a lot before about like why Trump maybe became president, or maybe is appealing to many people who have looked up to authority figures their whole life, right? Of like, you go to church every Sunday and somebody talks at you and you don't really think critically about it. You don't try to parse it. It just feels good. It feels like a good thing to say. So I feel like that's kind of the same thing of a person will say that to you and it feels like it has weight, but it means...
And the spirituality type of stuff definitely makes you feel good if that's what you're looking for.
But even if like you're saying this to an atheist of like, oh, well, I realized I was just mad at God, so blah, 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 blah. Like, it feels like it means something. And if you're a good public speaker, like, it sounds like it has weight, but it's fucking garbage.
Right. So it was frustrating because it's the same thing I saw 5 years ago, and now she's doing it again. That was annoying.
Like, to what end? I mean, obviously to sell books is the end, but like...
That's the approximate, like, thing she was trying to do, but I think she's trying to say, look, there is this spirituality thing out there, and that's the argument she's trying to make, that atheism is empty of something, and you got to fill it with anything, apparently.
I fill my emptiness with wine.
That's much more useful than think the spirituality
Tonight
stuff.
we're drinking flip-flop wines, Left Coast Cabernet Sauvignon. It was $5
It's pretty good.
A Jewel. You don't know.
I don't know. It tastes like wine.
You drank literal vinegar last time you were over.
You could pour me anything you wanted, and I would red, white, whatever, and I would just say wine.
Just to be clear, the last time Hemant was over, and I gave him a glass of wine because I was like, I hate this. This is garbage. Do you want to drink it? And he sipped it. He's like, tastes like wine. He left, and I took a smell out of the bottle, and I dumped it down the sink. And you drank that whole fucking glass
because you don't appreciate my backwash.
Gross vinegar wine. No, the bottle. I dumped the bottle down the sink because it was trash.
It tastes the same as every wine I've ever
That's
tasted.
why I bought $5 wine.
Good job.
I think it's got a screw top because I'm going to bring it home.
Are you ready to spit out that wine you're about to drink?
No. Yeah. Hold
okay.
on, wait.
Yeah, start sipping. All right, let's talk about what happened at Wheaton College, because this is disturbing as hell.
And in our neck of the woods.
Which is disturbing too. So, Wheaton College, evangelical Christian school. Billy
Wheaton
Graham.
College is 5 miles away from where we are, maybe 10?
Billy Graham graduated from there. Pretty much a lot of young Christians, older Christians who are big names in the evangelical world have ties to Wheaton.
Just to be clear, when I was job hunting, they're hiring a lot of people in my profession, like writers, communicators, things like that, because every time I was like, communications professional.
Tell me you interviewed.
No, I just couldn't. And I thought about doing it, and not even like as a goof. It was just like I've been unemployed for 2 months, and this podcast does not pay my bills.
One day, man. One day.
Oh, man.
So
what if we
Wheaton
did this for a living? You do this for a living. Fuck off.
Yeah, sorry. One day, so Wheaton College.
Yes, sorry.
They will kick you out if you have premarital sex. That's against their rules. They will kick you out if you're in a committed same-sex relationship, ergo doing gay things. That's against the rules.
How do they know if you've had sex? Is it just like if you get knocked up,
Well, if you get knocked up, they have proof. But if
together?
they find out, they'll question you.
How?
I don't know. People tattle.
Do they do the thing where they wave the sheet at the wedding night and make sure it has blood? Like Italians maybe did that?
I don't know who does that.
But
they will kick you out for this sort of thing. That's what they do. If you break their ridiculous rules, they will kick you out. They will expel. You're not allowed to watch porn. That's a fireable, expellable offense too. Okay. Faculty members will get fired.
Mode, guys. This is not.
Faculty members have to believe in a literal Adam and Eve if they want to keep their jobs there.
Whoa, literal Adam and Eve?
Like 6,000-year-old.
Hey,
well,
Hemant?
not 6,000. You have to believe in a literal Adam and Eve, even though they don't necessarily force creationism, which makes even less sense.
What if I believe in Adam and Steve?
Not even. You're not getting a second interview with this one.
Oh, I should have applied.
They'll kick you out for those violations. More than a year ago, this is what happened. Okay, let's talk about this.
Somebody did something objectively worse and they got kicked out because that's how laws work?
You screwed that up. That is not right. All right. Here's what happens.
You're remembering it wrong.
I had to think about that first. 5 players on the Wheaton College football team apparently barged into some kid's dorm room. I think he was a teammate of theirs. They barged into his dorm room. They basically assaulted him, tied his wrists and legs in duct tape, and took him out of the room, kind of kidnapped him and threw him in the car.
Yeah.
And now maybe you're thinking, okay, it's some hazing. This is some sort of weird football maybe thing that they're doing. But they take this kid and they take him in the car. If you want to call that hazing, I think it's stupid, but that's not like the worst thing necessarily. It's just stupid.
I mean, hazing is dumb on its face,
yes.
but like...
So then this gets worse. They're driving in the car. First of all, the victim doesn't know who these people are because he didn't see them barge in, I guess. They start playing Middle Eastern music. They start talking shit about Muslims.
No.
So this kid thinks this is part of a terrorist attack or something.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Then they talk, because if you're trying to stereotype Muslims, what do you say? They say, the Chicago Tribune reported this, and they used sanitized language.
Okay.
Let's not do that. They basically tell these kids, we want to fuck goats, because apparently to them that's what they do, Muslim people do. Then they patted his foot and said, you'll be our goat for the evening.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so that's bad. Then, as they're still driving, and the victim has no idea what's going on, They pulled down, this is from the Tribune article, they pulled down his shorts and tried inserting something into his rectum. Like they're raping him.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens. I'm not going to try to figure out whether this qualifies as rape or not, but he resisted. Right. They punched him. They basically took him then to a field, like a baseball field near campus, but not on campus, and dumped him there. And without his phone, by the way, so he doesn't know what to do. He was new to the area, by the way, doesn't know what the hell to do. The only reason he got back home is because I guess they did this sort of thing to a second kid who was dumped on that field, and his friends came looking for him and found him. And so the friends brought back both of those guys back home safely. But okay, this happens more than a year ago. The victim obviously reports it to the school, and the school says they launched an investigation. Okay. That was more than a year ago. Before the Tribune article came out this week, all 5 of the guys were still on the football roster.
Cool, yeah.
3 of them played a week ago, this past Saturday, in the game. Mm-hmm. And nothing happened. The only thing that happened when the Tribune report came out was that police, like not Wheaton College, but police had basically arrested the 5 guys and charged them with, I'm going to quote this, aggravated battery, mob action, and unlawful restraint. So
sounds like rape should have been in there.
Let's hope the justice system does whatever it has to do here. So the question that I would love to know is, I haven't even told you one aspect of the story that's really horrible, another one. But Wheaton administrators, what were they doing for the past year that these kids were still at school, still on the football team?
Well, wait, okay, just to go back over it, at any point when they were assaulting this young man, did they also yell, "I don't believe in Adam and Eve"?
They did not say that.
Oh, I see.
They did not say they were having premarital sex either.
Okay.
So I guess it didn't...
Did they have consensual sex with each other?
No.
Oh.
So they didn't...
So it sounds like they didn't do anything wrong.
In the administrator's eyes, that's what it sounds like. They sat on this for a year and did nothing. I'm sure they hired an investigator, but they didn't do anything. Here's what I don't get. Even if we were talking about a similar situation at another school, you would think while the investigation's going on, those kids are not going to play.
Or
we're not punishing them, but you're not going to play.
Of consequences for your fucking actions, you nightmare humans.
And if the school says this is one kid's story and everyone's denying it or something, I'm trying to figure out the other side of this here. Even if they said that, you would say, well, we got to investigate this. So you're not coming to school or you're not playing on the team until the investigation is complete. And once it's complete, and then if you are, I don't know, innocent of any guilt charges, we'll deal with it then. But for now, whatever, here's what we're going to do. You know what Wheaton did? They did punish them in the year off. What was their punishment?
They couldn't believe in Adam and Eve.
That's not the thing. The several players were required to perform 50 hours of community service.
Cool.
And write an 8-page essay about their behavior.
Are they 6?
That's what Wheaton had these football players do.
Also, it's 2017. We do word counts. We don't do page lengths anymore.
Yes.
You dicks.
Which means, what that tells me is Wheaton said, you did something wrong, so we got to punish you for it. But apparently, whatever they did wrong was, I guess, a paper would make up for it. Now, let me tell you this.
Yeah.
After this story came out that they've been arrested, first of all, this became national news, so good.
Yeah.
Second thing is, it's not Wheaton's first incident.
You love when people get a little spotlight on our corner of the world.
Mm-hmm. It's not the first time dealing with this sort of what the hell's going on at Wheaton sort of thing, because in a minor issue, like several months ago, someone put up like a gay pride rainbow flag in their dining hall. It should not have been there. They have flags of other countries in their dining hall.
Sure.
But as soon as Wheaton found out about that, it got taken down in a heartbeat.
Well, yeah, some things are important, Hemant.
This is the same school that a year ago, and this I think has something to do with this case we're talking about. More than a year ago, they had a professor who wore a hijab and posted on Facebook saying, I stand in solidarity with Muslim women.
I remember that.
And then she also said Muslims and Christians worship the same God. And that was heretical.
Didn't go super great.
They had like a whole, we got to investigate you. We got to decide whether to fire you. They ultimately decided, I think, like they weren't going to fire her, but the pressure was so bad from their donors that she's like, I'm finding another job because screw all of you. And she did. She found another job. But that happened a month before this football incident took place. And I wonder if the reason they didn't act on it quickly is because they just suffered all this bad publicity and they didn't want more. And by the way, one more thing. I guess some kids at the school did a skit. I'm not reading this one. They did a skit a while ago where they
If white
acted
dudes
like...
do skit, it's like homophobic 90% of the time.
Oh, not homophobic.
And Islamophobic?
They were wearing KKK masks, hoods. Not saying
me.
the KKK is good, but they thought it's...
Were they satirizing the KKK?
I think that's their argument. We were just acting like them for the sake of a production. It wasn't good, whatever it is. Like, it's no judgment involved here. So, Wheaton is not known for having good judgment from some people on campus, and I know people from Wheaton. They're not like this. Here's the good thing, if there's anything good at this.
One of my best friends is from Wheaton.
When I was searching for this story, when it happened, there were so many alums, graduates of Wheaton who were just like...
What did they say?
Everyone I saw was like, what the hell is wrong with Wheaton? What are
really?
they? Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Hands down.
I actually feel good for a half a second.
I haven't heard a single person, Wheaton or otherwise, defending anything the administration did. And a lot of these graduates were pissed off that they pressured the Muslim-friendly teacher to get out. They were pissed off about that.
You warmed my cold, dead heart for a second there. What a time to be alive.
Yeah, they were pissed off because they're furious that the administration's not doing anything about this. Christian schools have a reputation. I know all schools have a reputation of not taking sexual assault seriously.
Oh,
but
yeah,
Christian
I've heard
schools,
about that.
Christian schools especially, because if a woman says, I've been a victim or I've been assaulted, that means she's broken the rules of sex, and therefore she stands to they have a lot of issues.
I can't.
So a lot of these Wheaton grads are like, my school this is infuriating. Now, here's the downside of that. All those people are saying that, which is good. I'm glad they're speaking out and trashing their alma mater. I don't think they're the ones that are the ones giving big money to the school.
That's a good point.
And so that's the concern because...
Wow, it's almost like capitalism is fucking shit over again. I can't believe it.
And we don't know how much of this had to do because those kids were on the football team and not nobodies.
Yeah, I'd like to kind of dive into that. So there's, I think, a couple factors to consider, right? So there's that they're football players.
And I think their victims were both football players too on the team.
And it's... worth noting that I actually don't know, or they're all white men, right?
The 5 pictures that I saw, yes.
I believe are all, at least.
Just based on looks, yes.
So the things that you told me that happened, one was an LGBTQ thing with the rainbow flag, and one was with a woman. And those things were addressed pretty fucking quick.
Yep.
But a thing that physically harmed another person has just kind of stalled out.
It took at least a year for this investigation.
And even then, nothing has really happened in the eyes of Wheaton.
Yeah, the guys, the football players, they were apparently in court this week. So now stuff is starting to happen.
Sure, but not
by the school.
It's not like Wheaton did.
Well, again, 8-page essay, but...
Yo, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, God. What I wouldn't give to get my hands on those essays. Oh, my God. Hey, anybody who's listening, I will give tens of dollars.
Size 18 font.
That's exactly right. I don't know why it makes me so mad that they did page count and not word count. Like, come on. But
I love how that's the detail you're sticking with.
Because I'm a pedant. But the other thing's definitely worth talking about is this, the fact that they're football players. And that's the thing. So I've, not that I can claim moral high ground for most things, I'm the worst a lot of the time. But I have sort of made a conscious effort to remove myself from, watching football anymore. I don't watch, because my husband and I used to, watch Bears games all the time. And
there's a lot of reasons not to watch Bears games right now.
Yeah. Good one, sports reference. That really, you really got our market, Hemant, as our sports boys.
I have watched a little bit of the games both weeks so far, and
is it bad? I don't know.
Sad.
I haven't.
It's so sad.
The thing is, the nice thing about following sports is, when you're in Chicago, your go-to small talk is always going to be about sports.
Yeah.
And I follow football, I follow hockey. I can bullshit about basketball.
Yeah.
But when people I have removed myself so hard from football, people somebody said a new quarterback question mark to me, and I was I don't hear he was literally how is Schmirk doing? And I was I thought he was talking about a friend of mine.
Glennon's
And I was
not good.
I
They'll
don't think
stick
I
in
know that.
Trubisky. Whatever.
But anyway, But my point is, I've sort of removed myself from.
You're not the only one. There was a
football.
commentator, a football, a sports commentator on broadcast, ESPN or one of the networks, who said, you know what, I'm not going to be an announcer for this anymore because I don't want to add any complicity
That's
to this
exactly
sport.
right. It's about complicity, right? I don't want to be complicit in like one of the part of the viewership, which I know like my one person who like passively watched it anyway isn't a thing. But it has sort of just become this sort of moral issue that I've had that it's exactly it. I don't want to be complicit in this anymore. I don't want to sit and watch people inflict brain damage on each other, and nor do I want to watch people who get away with garbage like this time and time again, because we have, as a society, are willing to put like the Bears winning a game over literally a woman's safety or a person's life,
or apparently this victim's safety,
this young man's safety, because we care. Like, sports are so glorified. And do not get me wrong, I am a sports fan. Like, I cried when the Cubs won the World Series. I've been a Cubs fan my whole life. I love sports, irrationally so. But like, as soon as we have footage of somebody beating the shit out of his wife, and that's not and it's more important to not just to football officials, where there obviously are to blame, but there are many, if not the majority of fans are willing to overlook that Ben Roethlisberger has been, I think,
I don't know if it's accused or anything else.
He was definitely accused. I'm not sure if it went, but anyway, like, has almost certainly raped people, like, allegedly. Don't sue me, Ben Roethlisberger. I have zero money. But you know what I mean? Like, people are willing to overlook that garbage. And I mean, it's everywhere, right? Like, it's celebrities of all stripes. But for some reason, football, because it celebrates male aggression.
Yeah.
It's a very traditionally, like, tribalistic male thing. And I talked to somebody on Facebook about this. Like, there is an element of tribalism in sports that's probably not the most healthy, but I don't necessarily have a problem with that as a thing. I think people are tribalistic as a sort of rule, and it's in most ways a pretty healthy outlet to be like, no, fuck the Cardinals or whatever.
It's better than the alternative where you're doing it in real life.
Yeah, like
real
literally murdering people. Yeah. But to me, like, football, I'm just fucking done with it. I'm done with these men being excused time and time again for being horrible human beings and abusing people. And
is it fair to, and I say this as someone who's probably still going to watch this weekend, is it fair to say the whole sport, screw it, because of what certain players do?
Not necessarily because of what certain players do. I think there's two things. I think there's one, if players are doing illegal.
Can I rephrase that?
Yes.
If the NFL took action on those players the way they should, in your opinion, then would it be okay to watch the sport?
So there's two reasons, right, that like I have an issue with football, and one is certainly that. So like, yes, if the NFL held anybody accountable for their actions, and you know how fucking into accountability I am, because there is none anymore. God, I sound like a kids these days person.
Well, like they'll give them, you beat someone, here's a 2-game suspension.
Exactly.
But Tom Brady and the footballs, you get like 4.
Right.
Like, that's
right. So yes, I think that would soften it. But to me, like, the fact that we have proven explicitly that the kind of impact that happens in professional American football is
like brain damage and stuff like that.
Definitely causing brain damage, long-term effects, violence, suicides, drug addiction. I think it is, honestly, it's for me getting to the point where I'm starting to view professional football is immoral, and I'm not like,
I don't think you're alone on that.
I'm not willing to like pick it in front of Soldier Field or anything like that, but like, I wonder, like, I've seen talking a lot about articles this week of like shit millennials are killing, so like diamonds and golf
and napkins
and
and Hooters and TGI Fridays.
Y'all, I am a diehard feminist until I die. I love Hooters wings, and I will for the rest of my life. When my husband,
I love how that's the end of the long football rant.
I love Hooters wings. I love them so much. There's one near my house. I go there a lot. I fucking love Hooters, and I tip really goddamn well. but just we have proven that like the consequences of football are such that people are dying, and there I think is no moral excuse. And the other thing is they keep trying to like update rules to lessen cranial impact, from what I understand, and people fucking hate it. People hate it. They get mad. They say, let the boys play. They say, like, no.
Trump said it at a rally earlier.
Well, Trump's a garbage human being. I don't give a fuck what Trump has to say, even if he agrees with... Oh, did he agree with me?
Oh, no.
I just heard his name and got, like, blinding
No, he
mad.
spent most of his time talking about Colin Kaepernick and how he's a, quote, son of a bitch.
Wait, okay, okay.
He literally called him a son. He didn't say Kaepernick's name, but he's like anyone who's kneeling, son of a bitch.
I'm going to close my NFL rant vis-a-vis brain damage with fuck it. I'm going to open my next rant.
Yes.
With a thing that's recently happened. And I'm not sure if it happened in our area or if it was elsewhere. But did you see the thing with like a peewee football team? These 8-year-old kids asked their coach if they could kneel during the national anthem.
Go on.
Have you heard about this?
I don't know if I have.
This has been my obsession this week. So my really unhealthy way of dealing with stress is yelling at strangers on Facebook, and I know it's awful.
This is healthy.
It's my therapist does not want me to do it, but she doesn't own me. So these 8-year-old kid football players went to their coach and said, we want to kneel during the national anthem. And he said, as long as you understand what it means and what you're doing. And I think he either talked to the parents or made sure they cleared it with their parents or whatever. Then he has no problem with it. And Facebook being the fucking cesspool it is. So I'm in a like an Aurora or a Naperville like Facebook group because I hate myself, I guess. And I have just been getting flame wars because people are...
They're mad about this?
Hemant, so mad. Like, so mad. It is mad. Like, it is the most bonkers, next level crazy thing that people are mad about this. Like, I support Colin Kaepernick and I support anybody who, like, uses their free speech, especially in an unobtrusive and nonviolent way like Kaepernick is doing. But holy Christ, are people fucking mad about this? And it made me think, and I want to get your opinion. Okay, so we go to a Cubs game together, right?
Yeah.
They play the national anthem. We stand up or do whatever we want to do. What does the national anthem mean for you?
At that point, it's a ritual,
Okay.
whatever.
So I kind of think the same thing.
I don't think much of it. It's not an anti or anything. It's just like, just get to the game.
Right. And I kind of feel the same way, or it's more like a cool Go America, like our country's dope thing.
It's like a pep song.
I mean,
for
it's
the
very
game.
like it's like a jingoistic kind of like saber rattling type deal. So it seems to me, and I would love to hear from listeners about this. It seems to me that the disconnect is a lot of people see the national anthem as specifically honoring veterans, which is never a thing I have thought of. But
so kneeling during the national anthem means you hate the vets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where I kept like seeing this weird disconnect. And it's honestly a thing that's never crossed my mind. But I also didn't grow up in a military family. Like I didn't grow up in a military area. So that I don't.
Doesn't make any sense because what did they fight for? They fought for a right to have the First Amendment. I'm trying to make a logical case, but they're not interested.
No, yeah, 100%. And like,
it is weird to me that people would get more upset about Kaepernick or anyone else kneeling than they would the people getting brain damage because of the game. That seems like a misplaced priorities anyway.
So of course, like I moonwalk into those comment sections, and I'm like, "Hey, what are you?"
You just got to do what I do and not have friends. Just don't talk to people.
I'm sorry. Do you think I'm friends with these people who are yelling at me on the internet? I'm not. The only people I'm friends with are people at the dog park, and I don't know their first names. I know them as their dogs' names.
That's how you do it.
It's excellent. Could not recommend it more.
Now that we are done talking about Wheaton.
We need to stop doing these at night. This is a dumb show.
I know, that was... we have no other option. So the world's going to end tomorrow on a happier note. This is according to some, quote, Christian numerologist. It's like one dude. This is what's funny.
Remind me what numerology is?
A guy who finds significance in numbers. So basically he's saying, well, according to...
Jim Carrey movie 23?
I didn't see that one, but it sounds like something Jim Carrey would do. According to David Mead, who is this numerologist, there are some passages in Luke that point to the idea that hurricanes and the eclipses are signs of the apocalypse, and therefore somehow a planet's going to pass our solar system, and then the world's going to end tomorrow.
Happening. The world is definitely ending.
That's right.
And the last sounds are going to be me talking about yelling at people on the internet.
Here's what's entertaining about this.
Be the best.
Because I love it when people say the end of the world is happening, which
presently
evangelicals believe, like they're going to be raptured and an apocalypse is coming. This is a standard belief.
Sure.
But only the fringe folks put a date on it because the Bible says something about you will not know.
Do that again?
They
is
use
that what
math.
numerology is?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's finding it's connecting dots that only exist in your head when it comes to these numbers. But this guy is like, no, I figured it out. The date's tomorrow. And you remember, like, a few years ago, the guy famously said, Harold Camping. He's like, the world's going to end on this date. It didn't. And then he had to apologize because he staked everything on that date.
But wait, before he apologized, didn't he say, like, oh, no, I miscalculated. It's 2 months from now?
He didn't.
Oh.
He was like, I screwed up. I don't know what to tell you. And then he died years later or something. But David Mead is like, I'm putting all my eggs in this basket. It's tomorrow. What's interesting to me
But when did he announce this?
Like
recently, right?
I think it got attention recently, but he announced it a while ago, and this is a date people have been looking at for a long time for dumb reasons. What's interesting is that I've seen so many...
September 23rd?
3rd. Yeah. I've seen many Christian publications that are basically saying, this is garbage. Don't listen to what this guy is saying. First of all, Christian numerology is not a thing, they say. And second, like, no, the Bible says you will not know the date. So, like, this guy this guy saying he knows the date is just flat out unbiblical. We don't know when Jesus is coming back, is their argument.
But it's definitely in our lifetime.
It's definitely in our lifetime, says the same people, right? But what's funny is hearing these people, like, dismiss this guy for his kooky beliefs, and yet they believe so many other kooky things themselves. Like, you're not allowed to say that guy's an idiot because he's making sense of the Bible and trying to say this and that, when they do the same thing about equally idiotic things.
That's honestly one of my favorite things to watch is like, where is your line?
Yeah, the world's not going to end tomorrow. Now, let me tell you about how the earth was created 6,000 years ago and Adam and Eve were real.
This cracker turns into the body of Christ.
Different group.
Oh, what are we talking about? Well, no, but I'm just saying, like,
in general,
with
religion
yes. at all is just like I'll believe that this cracker definitely turns into the body of Christ in my mouth.
Yeah.
But gay people being in a relationship is like fucking unheard of. Like, it's just, that was a terrible, it's too late.
Like, you can't promote, like, your myths as facts, but that guy's beliefs are ridiculous.
Which I feel like that would be the best way.
You're in no position to say that.
That would be the best way, I would think, to, like, get through to somebody like that. Like, you know how you felt when Harold Camping was like, the world is defo ending in a week and a half, and you're like, okay. That's how I feel every time you say anything.
So, yes, the world's not going to end by the time you're listening to this, but I'm sure it'll be fun to make fun of people who think it is.
You can listen to our dulcet tones as the world burns.
You're welcome. We're the last things you'll ever hear, which is exactly when you want to go.
Aren't we a pair?
Let me give you... All right, let's go to something a little happier. A woman in North Carolina created something that will be useful to everybody.
Oh, God.
It is Bigfoot spray. Yes, Bigfoot attracting spray. Because if you spray it on yourself, the Bigfoots will come and find you. Wait, it gets better. She says field tests have been done. Field tests have been done. They sprayed themselves and then saw Bigfoot. I guess their video camera was off, but... Let me quote you. What she says.
Can you please double check that it's not the Onion, because I will not be had this way.
It's not.
This is the best moment of my life. I'm so glad it's on film or on recording.
Allie Megan Webb added in a quote, "To attract a Bigfoot, you need a smell that's woodsy enough to keep from scaring him off.
Sure.
But slightly different enough to make him curious and come to investigate."
So it's like...
Wait, here's the best part about the story.
Sexy Bigfoot smell.
The best part about this is she says, we did the field test and we actually attracted a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
There's a guy who's like, no, that was just me in a Bigfoot costume. He claimed responsibility for he was reenacting scenes from Gilgamesh, and I'm going to show you, Jess. Here's what this guy was wearing.
I'm so excited.
This is what he was wearing. He does not look like Bigfoot. He looks like a dude in like an Ewok.
He looks like a Wookiee.
Wookiee costume.
Oh,
like it's not.
no.
He was walking around. They saw him. They're like, our scent worked. Let's sell this shit.
And then they just like let him leave. They were like,
they
didn't like
leave,
flag him down. Like, hey,
I guess it could have been worse.
hey, Mr. Bigfoot.
So
Mr.
she's
Foot.
selling that, and let me go to one more thing.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Just the fact that she calls it big. So when I
Bigfoot attracting spray.
But you called it. Wait, does she call it Bigfoot spray
No,
or
it was
do
me.
you? Okay, because I was gonna say like when I put on bug spray, I'm not like, come at me, bugs, come get this. Wait, and she's in North Carolina?
Yep.
I thought Bigfoots were in the Pacific Northwest.
Well, what do you know about the mythological creatures that only existed like now?
Well, I'm not gonna go look for the fucking chupacabra in like London.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what the actual name is?
Tell me everything.
Bigfoot Juice. Because it couldn't get more
Guys, this is a fun
disgusting.
podcast. It's canceled. This is the best thing.
Oh,
Oh, Bigfoot.
that's a
Is it?
weird
Oh God.
porn movie
Hemant,
waiting to happen.
This is like maybe the most important thing you can ever say.
Bigfoot juice.
How is juice spelled?
It's spelled juice.
God damn it! If it was JOOZ, I would have spiked this microphone.
Here's what's weird. There's another story along the same lines this week. There's another story, and this time it involves Gwyneth Paltrow, who sells all sorts of BS on her site, The Goop. Vampire
spray?
Yeah, it's called Psychic Vampire Repellent.
Honey.
If you spray it, the vampires won't come.
So tonight, we had to do this like, because I was having a movie night with some friends, and we watched Seven, which is my favorite movie, and Gwyneth Paltrow is in that. And it's like 1995, so it's like height of like Gwyneth Paltrow being a regular human who seems to have like Earth logic apply to her.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me like sincerely mournful because I really like her as an actress. She's excellent in that movie.
How'd you go from Shakespeare in Love to Psychic Vampire
I loved
Repellent?
Shakespeare in Love when I was younger.
What's weird is the spray. I guess how this works is if you spray it, the vampires won't come, and then some idiots will buy this and say, there are no vampires here. I guess the spray worked.
Fucking nailed it every time.
Yeah.
Sir, I have alien spray I'd like to sell you.
Best part is the Goop store actually got this product from a place called Paper Crane. And if you go to the Paper Crane website, they
Goof.
sell the same thing for like $4 less.
Well, how much is it? How much is the
Let me,
spray?
way too damn much.
Tell me how much.
30 American dollars. And what are the ingredients
Tell
in
me.
this
If
Psychic
it's not
Vampire Repellent?
100% garlic and crosses, I'm leaving.
Reiki, sonically tuned reverse osmosis water,
Oh my God, what?
rose water. So let me get to the good stuff.
You did already.
Therapeutic grade oils of rosemary, lavender, and juniper. Elixirs of ruby, black tourmaline,
Wait.
aqua aura,
Ruby is a... Okay, keep going.
pyrite, fluorite, ametrine, garnet, bloodstone, tiger's eye, labradorite, pneumite, and clear quartz.
So
what the hell is any of that?
So when they say essence of like quartz, they definitely like took a tank of water and dropped like a couple
from the
quartz.
toilet, put some dye into the liquid.
No, they just like dropped a ruby in like a fucking outdoor swimming pool.
Oh, I wouldn't give them that much credit. They
And
didn't drop a ruby in this thing.
Gwyneth Paltrow has rubies. She charges $30 for garbage.
She's
Like, of
not
course
giving
she
up
has
her
rubies.
rubies for this.
She's got jade shit she's shoving off her chotch. Like, she's got money to spend on rubies to put in like Olympic-sized pools.
Yeah,
It's
I guess it's better that they didn't say jade eggs.
we're
in this thing.
So
So- People getting rich.
she was so good in Seven.
Was she? I'll take your word on
Have
that.
you never seen Seven?
I don't. What do you know about me and movies?
Okay, that's on. If somebody's keeping track of the shit that Hemant hasn't seen, we're putting. Y'all need to donate to our Patreon because I don't want to watch Star Wars, but I will. But what I do want to watch is Seven again, and I literally watched it 2 hours ago.
I would watch that one.
It's excellent.
Uh,
we should just watch it anyway
I'm
because we're.
done.
Wait, am I your friend? Because you say you have no
no,
friends.
this is true.
We're
That's a
we're
good question.
colleagues.
Yes.
We're professional colleagues.
That's it. You're cut from my friend circle. Let me go to one last story here that I have, which involves. Okay, it's infuriating at times, but It
Whatever
does have a happy
I thought
ending.
we were going to end unhappy. Okay.
This does have a happy ending. Here's the story. Jehovah's Witnesses have this belief that you can't get blood transfusions.
Sure.
They believe there's a Bible verse that says you cannot
It says
eat
in
blood.
the future when you need to have blood transfusions because we understand how germ theory works and we understand that we can replace your blood with blood of your similar type and it will heal you. Don't do that though. Love God.
Not what it says. Leviticus, because that's the book you want to quote, says you must not eat the blood of any creature. Anyone who eats it must be cut off.
No vampires.
Yeah, but they take that
We need
as
that vampire spray.
that's what they need. They somehow interpret that as you can't get a blood transfusion, even if it's like your own blood that you store.
Wait,
for
really?
Later. You can't get a blood transfusion. Actually, I don't know about that one, but you can't get blood transfusions. So, 14-year-old girl in Montreal has Hodgkin's lymphoma, cancer. It's bad. She needs chemotherapy. That's what the doctor said. And part of the thing is when you go through that procedure, there is a chance you may need a blood transfusion. It's not guaranteed, but it's like, hey, this may happen along the course of your treatment. So we need permission. Even if you're 14, we need permission to do the blood transfusion. And the law actually says 14-year-olds do have that a say in this sort of thing. They're not minors where the parents make all the decisions.
Oh, I see.
Even though her parents are Jehovah's Witnesses and would have said no. She had a choice, and she said, no, I'm devout. I don't want to get the blood transfusion either. Okay. And that's not a death wish per se because she may have not needed it.
It's sort of the equivalent of signing like a DNR. Like,
yeah,
it
if
doesn't mean
this
I'm going to die.
happens,
Right.
then I don't want you to do this.
Right.
And the doctors are like, we need to have this option on the table. And so what do you do if you're a doctor? Because she's too young to make that decision to die. So the doctors, here's what the doctors did. They went to a court in Montreal, to a judge, and said, we need to have the right to do the blood transfusion because that's what she needs for her care in order to live. And thankfully, the judge said, I am going to give you that option. The doctors get to override whatever this girl wants because it's in the interest of saving her life. That's what the judge decided. It was the right decision. Like, if you're older than 18, if you're an adult and you say, I don't want a blood transfusion, then it's stupid, but whatever. That's your decision.
Say, I'm not thrilled with the
But when you're 14 and you're not an adult, even if you have the legal right to say, I don't want to do this or whatever, it seems like, you know what? Let the doctors take over.
Like the same reason we don't let 14-year-olds drive rental cars. Like, maybe you're not going to make the best choices in your life.
I remember, so I went to med school for a year. In the orientation, hold on, I'm going somewhere with this. In the orientation week we had, they made us read a book. And it was one of those books where it's, what was it called? The spirit catches you and you fall down.
Oh, about the kid who...
It's a Hemant family is the culture.
Oh, yeah, I read that in
I didn't
college.
read that.
That's why you failed out of medical school?
I passed I left it on purpose.
Oh, sure. That's what you tell your parents and your kids.
I have the grades to prove
it's just you
damn
and me
it.
and our 4 listeners, Hemant. You can be honest with us.
I swear I didn't fail out, but I didn't read that book. No one read that book, but I heard it was good. But I do remember having the discussion during orientation with everyone where they were like, how would you handle a culture that does something that, they believe, I think it was about epilepsy or something.
Yeah, it was about like grand mal seizures of that before we understood what seizures were. See, I read the fucking book in college.
Nice job.
It was about seizures, and before we understood what seizures were, they thought it was like a spirit coming into you and possessing you, and it makes you literally physically fall down.
Tell me if I'm wrong here. They said we don't want you to treat that epilepsy because it's a spirit.
A spiritual thing, yeah.
And so the question is, as doctors, what do you do?
Fucking literature major
Nice
for
job.
the win, Mr. fucking medical school. How dare you?
It's 1 year. I don't get
You're
to...
not better than me. I'm sorry. I'm tired and getting surly.
Drink your damn wine, non-friend. So I remember in these discussions, across the board, everyone was like, you got to respect the culture. You can't just say we're going to treat you over your wishes. Like, you have to respect what they want. I'm pretty sure at the time I was probably in on that too, or I didn't speak up against it.
Right.
But now in retrospect, I'm like, no, who cares if it's affecting a kid and you're a doctor and you have a chance to make it better.
Right?
It's the kid thing. I don't care, like, if cultural stupid reasons to do this, I don't want the treatment.
Right.
Whatever, you're an adult, make your own decisions.
Right.
But if you're a kid, and you think you're making the decision, but maybe you were raised in it and your parents are telling you this is the decision you should make. I'm all for the doctor stepping in and saying, no, we're going to take care of you. That's our job.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense because, I mean, you definitely can pull like a 14-year-old if they're like with abusive parents, like to save that child. You can pull them out of their home.
Yeah.
Man, ethics are tricky, huh?
What? Yeah. So good for the judge, good for the doctors for taking the right step. And when she's an adult, whatever. But maybe if she can make it through this treatment, and I hope she does, maybe there's a chance she comes to her senses on all this stuff down the road and realizes it. Now, one question I do have is if she needs a blood transfusion and she gets it, I'm seriously worried.
Can she stay in her faith? Is that what you're...
More like, are they going to kick her out of the faith?
That's what I meant.
Yeah. Because if she has a blood transfusion, she has broken the religious law. And like, what are they going to do to her? Is her family going to shun her, this cancer survivor, for having a blood transfusion? Because that sounds downright cruel, but religion's not known for not being cruel. So I don't know what's going to happen.
The thing about religion is that I cannot think of a thing that I would be taught that would allow, say, my husband to die, or you to die, or like my best friend to die, let alone like my fucking child.
Right.
And I don't have a child. I have a dog whom I love very much. I don't have a human child. And I can't imagine looking at my dog and being like, hey, Dottie Hinson, you're a very good girl. I tell you that all the time. But I don't think you can get this thing that will save your life. But I don't think it's okay. So, like, later.
Yeah.
And that's my fucking dog. And I've had her for 6 months. And I'm like...
And if the dog or your kid died, the problem is these parents think these are like martyrs. You died for a good reason. God wanted you. It's horrible. Do you want to end on a happier story since that was very depressing?
Yeah, Jesus. Yes, of course I do.
I thought that was a happy story. It was clearly not.
Are you sure?
I thought it was happy because the doctor stepped in and they can save her.
Well, I can drag anything down.
All right, there's a conservative activist.
I'm the iceberg to this Titanic.
Nice. A conservative activist, E.W. Jackson. He was talking to a guy.
I bet he's racist.
He's black. Nice job there. But yes, he is, I think.
I feel like that's fair. If you have two initials as your first name, that you're probably racist. What does that mean, Jessica? That doesn't mean anything.
Drink your wine. Both men that they interviewed here, they were like, homosexuality is bad. That's what these guys talk about.
Good sense.
But why is it bad? According to the guest of Jackson, his name is David Kupelian. He writes for WorldNet Daily, our very conservative website. Kupelian says this. 4-year-old kids in preschool. We have 4-year-old kids in preschool where we have lesbian and transgender teachers. They go in and they show 2 women kissing, 2 men kissing. There's a natural ick factor where children who have not been corrupted will say, ick, that's gross. Many things to dissect here. First of all,
a lot to talk about here, Hemant.
This is not what teachers do in preschool. They do not show these movies. They don't show any movies of anyone kissing.
My
That's not what they
teachers
do.
making out in front of the class and being like, hey, you slip them the tongue at this point.
Right. Second thing,
stop it, Jessica.
Second thing, I don't know a kid who sees anyone kissing and says that's not gross. That's just what they do. They're like, ew, no. It doesn't matter if it's mom and dad. It doesn't matter if it's mom or mom. Like, they're just, ew, no, that's yucky.
Isn't that funny that kids will, like, literally shove dirt in their mouth, but they see 2 people kiss and they're like, ew.
But yeah, it's like everything is icky. Broccoli's icky, but you don't keep that away from them. Like, the ick factor is not a reason to not allow people to have rights.
Yeah, and like, hey, dude, maybe like 4-year-olds aren't the people who should be making moral judgments on our society.
Right.
Because they would be anti-naps.
Yeah, just saying kids are grossed out by this, therefore whatever we want to do with LGBT people.
Fucking piece of logic. Hey, Hemant, your oldest daughter is...
Almost 2.
Almost 2. What kinds of things does she hate?
Everything.
Cool.
Yes.
Cool.
And that is how I base all my decisions.
Yeah, she was hanging out here before we recorded last time and was throwing peanut butter crackers on the ground. So we as a society are like...
We're done with peanut butter.
Done with peanut butter crackers.
Yep.
God, people are so dumb. Like,
every time you use that ick factor, it
dumb?
says so much more about you than it does the kids that you're talking about.
Yeah, and if you call anything icky that's not like a bug, I'm kind of judging you.
Right. So let's end on that note.
Yeah.
Hey, you know how to reach us. Hemant Meta, at Hemant Meta on Twitter.
Blueberry, Blueberrie.
Patreon.com/Friendly Atheist Podcast. And please, again, I would really appreciate it on a personal note that we wrote this book with Camille.
Yeah.
Go to Kickstarter, search for Queer Disbelief, and please chip in if you find that book interesting. I promise you were going to read it and you're going to like it because it's a really good book.
Yeah.
And I'll talk to Camille soon and we'll post that as a bonus episode on this channel.
Cool. My Etsy shop is Bitches Get Stitched On. Use offer code Atheist. I'm like 85% sure to get a certain amount
if
off.
it doesn't
that I
work, email us at the podcast and we'll
you
fix
can
it.
just reach out to me through Etsy. Hey, we never say this, but go into iTunes, rate, review, subscribe.
Oh, yeah.
I sometimes...
Did you know that iTunes is finally, with the new iOS, they're going to actually give analytics for all the podcasts on iTunes.
So we can know how many people are listening?
So we can know how far people are listening.
Oh, I cannot wait to see where they live.
I know.
Is that how analytics work?
That's so not how it works, but we'll say so. Sure. Thanks for...
Yeah.
No,
But
we
yeah,
can find out
pop on
listening
there.
and all that good stuff.
I
so
went on and...
what Jess is saying, if you like and subscribe and rate us well,
rate us.
that helps.
It does help. And I also have probably read all of the reviews on there.
Have you?
Oh, yeah. People still love to complain about my voice, huh?
Nice.
That's not something they're over.
I shouldn't have written all those things.
Stupid. Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for listening. Shoot us an email, friendlyatheistpodcast at Gmail.
That's the one.
Gmail.com. We like to hear from you. I have an office job. I need to read emails now.
Nice.
I'm bored. Okay. Sorry, bye. It's so late.